If you're interested in the story behind the business headlines, check out Big Technology Podcast, my weekly show that features in-depth interviews with CEOs, researchers, and reformers in business and technology. Hi, I'm Alex Kantrowitz. I'm a longtime journalist, CNBC contributor, and the host of the show. I empty my Rolodex every Wednesday to bring you awesome episodes, so go check out Big Technology Podcast. It's available on all podcast apps. Would love to have you as a listener.
Break language barriers instantly by translating up to 44 languages in real time with the HP AI PC, powered by the Intel Core Ultra processor. With the right tools, work doesn't have to feel like work. Learn more at hp.com/AI PC.
Hey, I'm Kwame Christian, and you are about to step into the world of Negotiate Anything, the #1 negotiation podcast in the world where we teach you how to make difficult conversations easier while getting more of what you want in the process. Each episode is packed with practical tips and strategies from the experts. We delve into negotiation, conflict resolution, and leadership skills that are crucial in both business and in life. Whether you're closing a deal, managing a team, or navigating personal relationships, Negotiate Anything provides you with the tools you need to succeed. Our conversations are real, relatable, and most importantly, rooted in practicality. So if you're ready to transform your conversations and elevate your negotiation skills, join me on Negotiate Anything. Subscribe and listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you love to listen. Let's make every conversation a winning negotiation. I love talking to folks who are in the real estate space, especially in LA and New York, because the environment is so competitive, because we don't just have the negotiation expertise that's required to close these deals. The marketing and sales at the front end is so important because you have to stand out. It's so incredibly competitive. And so you have to get people's attention first, demonstrate that credibility, and then make it clear that, hey, I'm an option for you without pushing too hard. And how do you balance that when it comes to the competitive ecosystem you find yourself in? Because that in itself is a negotiation too.
Absolutely. So the cowboy hat's great. If you don't know anything about real estate, the cowboy hat doesn't matter. So you need something to qualify yourself. All right. So the qualifier, you could wear a SpongeBob outfit. It really doesn't matter, but you need a qualifier. It doesn't matter how you look. It matters what you know. For example, someone walks into an open house and I'm wearing my sweats and my t-shirt, and all the other agents are wearing suits. Just based off appearance alone, you're going to go with the guy who is wearing the suit. But what's your qualifier? This is the question that you really have to understand and know. My qualifier is, okay, which house are they walking into? What are the other houses in the neighborhood that look like that are at that price, 3-bed, 3-bath, whatever that they're looking for? What's the difference? 123 Main Street down the street. How is it different? Is it a 1-story, a 2-story? If an older couple walks into my house and I'm wearing sweats and I don't look qualified, what am I doing to qualify myself? So they walk in and I say, hey, how are you doing? Oh, we're doing good. You know, we looked at the house. It's not really for us. We're looking for like a 1-story because our knees are bad. We're getting old. Oh, did you see 123 Main Street down the way? It's a cool house. I didn't really like how the fireplace is positioned, but it's kind of a nice option. You could go in, you've got the primary on the lower story. It's still got a pool. It might be an option for you. Or there's also 225 Main Street down the street even further. Now the guy wearing sweats seems like the best option because holy cow, he knows the market, right? So how are you going to qualify yourself? The other way to qualify yourself is working for a reputable brokerage. So when I go into a meeting with someone and they're thinking about listing their house with me, when I say I'm from the agency, it's one of the most prestigious brokerages in the world. Now, there are other brokerages that don't have that same level of expertise. You may hear a name and say, I don't know if I trust the brand, right? So you don't know if you really trust it. So the agency is trustworthy. So what are these qualifiers? The brand that you work for, your knowledge is really the most important piece, and knowing the market and knowing what's going on and giving examples of what you've done. Now, when you're breaking into the real estate agency, it's like a plastic surgeon, right? Do you want to be the first client for who goes in for surgery with this guy? Absolutely not. That is the most ludicrous thing. It's the same thing with real estate. So you got to find a good mentor in whatever field you're in. You got to find a good mentor who's going to be your qualifier instantly, because you might not know all the things that you need to know, But when you have a mentor, you could easily slap their brand on your pitch. So yeah, my name's Nico. I work directly with the CEO of the agency, Maurizio Umansky, titan in our industry who's closed incredible deals for the last 30 years, and they're totally hands-on with me. So that's like instantly like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And then bring Maurizio to the listing appointment, show that he's there, and then get his advice as you're moving forward. You're going to get osmosis. You're also going to lose the deal if you don't bring in a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, you might risk losing the deal because you don't really know. And think about real estate. The thing about it that I've learned in the last year, there are a million and one things that you have to know to get a transaction done. When people say, oh, I'm not going to use an agent, I'm like, good luck. Like the amount of paperwork, the amount of disclosures, the knowledge that you have to have, knowing what to do and when, I believe there's like 200 plus items that you need to execute in order to close a real estate transaction. Think about all the people involved in that. Think about all my inspectors that I have to call when I'm looking through a house. Think about my transaction coordinator who's helping with all the paperwork. What to speak of the car forms that you have to be a realtor, a California Association of Realtor forms to be a realtor to access. Think about the hundreds of forms that I have access to. Are you going to have a lawyer draft all that? I mean, you could, but you have $1 billion organization backing all these contracts and they're the industry standard. So it makes sense to go with a realtor who knows the forms, who can help you through all this stuff. But yeah, so anyways, a bit of a tangent, but yeah, that's a little tidbit on qualifying yourself and having the proper knowledge. And it's not just what you wear and getting the leads, it's also actually knowing your business.
Hello, my friends. Before we get back to today's episode, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered how to elevate your team's negotiation game and how you can help the folks on your team have better, difficult conversations? At the American Negotiation Institute, we offer transformative keynotes and workshops tailored to empower professionals with top-tier negotiation and conflict resolution skills. Whether it's a keynote for your next event or hands-on training for your team, we've got you covered. Don't just negotiate. Master the art with the American Negotiation Institute. Click the link in the description to find out more. Elevate, negotiate, and succeed.
Introducing the HP AI PC, your powerful AI assistant. Easily search through personal files, gain valuable insights, and make smarter, more informed business decisions. Unlock the future of work today with the HP AI PC, powered by the Intel Core Ultra processor. With the right tools, work doesn't have to feel like work. Learn more at hp.com/AIPC.
So I actually got started like full time, actually the second half of 2021. So I entered the market at an extremely competitive time, which actually I think was a blessing in disguise because I didn't have any like prior conceptions or ideas about the market. I didn't have any bad habits based on a market that was no longer relevant. And I actually think that was really tough for a lot of agents to deal with because they were like, well, it's always been this way. And I'm accustomed to listing homes at X price and having this result. I just really had to, be very studious and be a sponge and understand the market that I was in. And of course, being just extremely competitive in general, I think really helped me because I was like, this is like a sporting event. And I do still treat real estate as if it's a sport. And my kind of idea is that I'm going to put in the time. I'm going to put in the time that other people just aren't willing to do. So, and if you think about it like a sport, I want to be the last person to leave the gym. And I'm going to be the last person making that phone call on that negotiation because I just want, to go the extra mile. But anyways, so I joined it the second half of 2021 and I led my team in sales or closings for clients that last quarter. And that was pretty cool because, I entered a market that was very competitive with some really great top producing agents. And there was kind of a question where everybody was looking at me like, what's going on? Like, is this like beginner's luck? Like, is this gonna, kind of like, trickle out or, but then 2022 was my first full year in and I did I think like around $25 million in sales, which in our marketplace is, pretty great. It is also just a super competitive space. Yeah. So I just, finished out 2023 as being a top producing agent in a very niche market. And that's great. We just continue to work extremely hard to put my clients in position for success in a market that's very, very competitive. And in order to do that, you have got to figure out how to win in multiple offer situations. If you cannot do that as an agent, you won't be successful, and your clients are not going to find homes in the marketplace that we're in, which is a tough reality, but it's the reality.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting too, because there are all sorts of different businesses and backgrounds that are represented in our audience, but we can all understand what it means to be in a competitive market. But when it comes to real estate in particular and the circumstance regarding multiple offers, that's pretty nuanced. So can you give us just a general overview of what that looks like before we actually get into the negotiation skills and strategies?
Yeah, so we're living in a state that, there are more buyers than there are homes that are on the market. So we are facing an inventory shortage and a housing shortage in many parts of the United States, but especially in central Ohio. And that's not something that's going to be corrected anytime soon. And I'll just make a little plug there that people that are saying, I'm going to wait to buy, shouldn't. Obviously, what's most important is that you find the home that you're looking for and that you're happy with, but waiting will cost you because it's a simple, principle of supply and demand. So what happens in these scenarios is that a home will come to market, and that home will not have just one interested buyer. They'll have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there are homes that receive 15 offers. And as a buyer, you need to understand and be working with an agent who truly, truly is an expert in your marketplace so that they can set expectations for you, but then also so that they can position your offer for success. And it's not always, the dollar amount. That's very important to understand because my clients, our offers are often accepted over other offers that had a higher dollar amount. And I guess we can get into that a bit later about exactly what I'm doing to make sure that my clients are successful and our offers are accepted. But yeah, so we're in bidding wars essentially. And I do think that it's a really great kind of takeaway for anybody who enjoys negotiations because it's understanding how to position yourself for success if you want something that somebody else wants. And you're going to be in situations like that for negotiations. It's not always just you have a conflict and it's you versus them. It could be this is the goal and there are 2 people jockeying for that goal, 3 people jockeying for that goal. And I often always go to kind of like sports because I feel like I'm in this kind of competitive race to accomplish a goal.
Absolutely. And I think the analogy, it works because it's multiple people competing over scarce resources. And then that's when the competitive nature starts to come in. And a lot of times that can cause a lot of emotionality. And that's why it's so important to have an expert on your side who can help you guide your strategy and your approach. And when I think about this multiple offer situation, I'm thinking about the expectation setting for clients. You mentioned that. So managing their expectations. And then after you manage those expectations, creating a competent offer that's actually competitive. And then we get into the negotiation side. Can you speak first to the challenge of managing client expectations in these markets?
Absolutely. That's funny because one of the things I was thinking about is, gaining influence. And my ability to gain influence actually starts with being recognized as an expert in the market in which I'm selling homes. So my clients who aren't even my clients, just people follow me on social media that live in the community, and they start to think of Candace Hall Realtor as the realtor you're going to go to buy or sell a home if you need to in New Albany. So I'm already starting to gain that influence very early on. Oftentimes I'm being connected with somebody through social media, but very oftentimes it's through somebody else in the community or a referral. And then they've seen my work. They see what I do. They see that I'm winning for my clients in this marketplace. They see the caliber of homes that I'm selling. And that already kind of sets the foundation of some trust. Of course, I think the biggest thing in these scenarios is the clients want to know that they're working for somebody who has their best interest at heart. My business model from the beginning has not been selling you a home. My business model is to be your agent for life. And I can't do that if I don't put your needs first and your goals first and just do what's best for you. And then because I personally don't do any paid advertising right now, is through word of mouth. And that's very, very powerful. What my clients have to say about their experience with me is going to be echoed throughout this community because, again, I'm in a niche market where everybody knows everybody else. So taking care of your clients is, extremely critical. And so I have that foundation of trust, and they can feel it. They can sense it. One of the things too, when I'm thinking about, being on a podcast talking about sales and negotiations, my opinion is that authenticity is the most important thing. People are going to sense if you're trying to pull one over on them or be salesy with them. You have to be of service to the client and find out what they need and how your skill set is going to help them achieve that goal.
What I love about this is that we are right down to the fundamentals. We're talking about building trust and being authentic. And I think a lot of folks who are in business trying to negotiate, they're trying to find these one-liners, these zingers, these little things that they can say and do. But those persuasive endeavors will fail if you don't have a foundational level of trust. And a lot of times they might say that these negotiation strategies or expectation management strategies with their clients are not working. But I think if you rewind the tape and go all the way to the beginning of the relationship and you realize the problem isn't the strategies that you're using down the road. The problem is the fact that you don't have a strong relationship that is built on trust. And so you've been able to mobilize that in a way that has led to financial success, and you've been able to close these big deals. But again, it starts with trust. So what is it that you're able to do early on in your relationship with the clients that really starts the ball rolling of positivity when it comes to building trust?
I think just getting to know them and understanding what their family needs. So, asking questions and being present and just coming from a position of service. That's so important. And my background in hospitality, I think, has really helped me there. And it's just something you can feel in your interaction with somebody. If my clients are getting the sense that I genuinely want what's best for them. I had a phone call with somebody yesterday, and they're talking about selling their home, and they're in a situation where do they sell it now versus do they sell it next year? Their instinct, I'm sure, is that I'm going to tell them to sell it now, because that's what's best for the salesperson in the situation. But I always table that. I don't care what's best for me ever. I care what's best for that client. Because if the client picks up on that, they're going to feel it. They're going to know. And if I don't do what's best for them and guide them with that genuine, truthful, solid advice, they're not going to trust me. So it was funny because I was just talking to them yesterday, and she said, well, we could maybe sell next year. And I said, well, if you could sell next year, I think your home value will go up. I think that you'll probably be able to sell your house for even more next year. So let's work through what fits best for you and your family right now. Let me connect you with a local lender so you can get all the information that you need. And that was it. I established a relationship and somebody who trusts me and knew that I wasn't going to, tell them, well, right now is the best time to sell, and then tell them some, reason why they shouldn't wait until next year. But I guarantee you, if that person waits until next year, they're going to tell their friend or family member how I took care of them and I'm trustworthy. And they're going to be thinking of me when real estate is on is top of mind for them, because it's just, it's something that as human beings, innately, we know when somebody is trustworthy and worth referring our friends and family to.
When you think about the trust equation, one of the things that pulls away from the level of trust you have with somebody else is how self-interested you are. So if they look at you and they say, oh, she is all for herself, that's the primary focus, it's going to diminish the levels of trust. And so breaking those patterns and not talking about the money first, actually showing that you care about the person and building that relationship, it's a great strategy for building trust, but it's rooted in authenticity and true caring for the other person. You can't really fake this. You have to genuinely care. And once you get them to that position where you have that level of trust, now let's say we're getting to this negotiation. Let's say they look at a house. They love this house, but it is a very nice house and multiple offers are coming in, and they want to put in a bid that you disagree with. Now, when it comes to having that negotiation with your client, how do you work through that with them to position yourself to put forward the best offer?
Yeah, so there are many times where I tell a client, so for example, if a house hits the market, we go see it, they like it. Let's say the house is listed for $500. I'm very early on setting the expectation when they're viewing the property, what I think the property is going to sell for. I'm saying, hey, I want you to know the lens in which you should be viewing this home is that this is actually a 550 to 575 home. So that when they're in the house and as they're getting, just like we love it, they need to remove that sticker. And then it's also just education, just letting them know that the most effective strategy in this marketplace is to conservatively list a home, to elicit multiple offers. And I tell them, hey, as a listing agent, this is what I would do for my clients to elicit multiple offers. And this is how it's done. This is the psychology behind this approach in the current marketplace and why it works. Because what happens when you conservatively list a property, so this is just, I guess a nugget for any listing agents or anybody who's thinking about wanting to become a listing agent. Conservatively listing that home will ensure that you receive an offer early on. The biggest risk that a home has that comes to market in our current marketplace is the risk of receiving a stigma because there's no offer the first weekend on. If that happens, the market goes, there's something wrong with that house. So to ensure that that doesn't happen to the listing, you conservatively price it. So as a listing agent, what I'm doing is I'm working to tease that first offer out. Once I get the first offer, now we have market validation. Now everybody else that's interested in that home says, I knew it. I knew that home was a great home. And then that's how you then create this bidding war. So it's funny because as a listing agent, I'm creating the bidding war. I know what to do. I know what strategies to put in place. And then when I'm representing the buyers, I take that and I flip it on its head, right? So I am not the first offer in the door. If my client says I want to make an offer, I say, great.
Wait. Now, before you sign off, I have something to tell you that I've never told you before. Just kidding. I've told you before, but you should listen to it again. I want you to know about Negotiate Anything Premium. Imagine all of the things that you love about our traditional feed, plus so much more. I know you like our traditional feed because you're at the end of the episode. And with Negotiate Anything Premium, you'll get more bonus content you've been asking for, more of the expert insights that you can't get anywhere else, and more exclusive behind-the-scenes access into every conversation. Are you ready to get more of what you want out of your life, career, and every conversation? With Negotiate Anything Premium, you'll have access to more high-level, custom-designed content and insights, giving you the tools you need to negotiate higher salaries, better deals, and better relationships in your life and career. Once I had a listener share that Negotiate Anything helped her to negotiate a $53,000 raise. Could this be you? What would that mean for your life? I've seen firsthand the impact this model has had on my life and the lives of my corporate clients, and I am confident that it can do the same for you. Are you ready to negotiate more of the best things in life? Click the link in the show notes to learn more. I'll catch you later.